All right, today's going to be a special show. I'm going to be talking solely about women. Now, gentlemen, if you're out there and your wives are not joining you for the show, get them. They're going to want to hear this. And ladies, the same thing. If your husband's not there, get them to watch this show. You're going to be gaining valuable insight. I'm very excited to do the show today because it's one I've been wanting to do for quite some time.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome to our show today. Today I've dedicated the entire show to the topic about women. Now, I'm doing this show because I had heard a statistic that most women were not happy with the financial service industry. And so, it kind of made me a little bit inquisitive. So I kind of dove into this, looked at a number of different studies, and I've got a number of facts that I want to share with you today that you may or may not find good or bad, but I think they're important to at least talk about it, discuss it more. And I thought if I'm going to talk about women, I should have a woman on the show joining me. So I've had Karen Bolmer. She's our administrative assistant, going to join me, and hopefully Karen might have a comment about some of these things that I'm going to talk about. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let me just start with some of these statistics that came from these studies. It said at some point in their lives, 90% of women will be solely responsible for the finances. Stands to reason, I think, if women are living longer, that might be the case. 44% of women are the primary breadwinners. And as of a few years ago, I understand women made up more of the workforce than men. Only 27% of women take control of the financial and retirement planning. This surprised me a little because typically when we're working with couples, I find that both are engaged, both are asking questions, both have input. So I was really surprised that only 1 out of 4 women nationally are getting involved in it. 61% of women would rather talk about death than their own money. Now, I don't know why that would be the case. I do find that a little bit interesting, but as a general rule, they're saying women don't like to talk about money. I sometimes wonder if it's just that they look at money differently. I heard one time, or I think I was reading in the article, it said that men look at money as an end. Okay, how much they have, how is it performing? Women look at it as a means to an end. How does money help me not run out of money in my retirement? How does it benefit my lifestyle per se? So I think maybe they just look at it differently.
Yeah, I mean, as you are, I think as some of these things point to, women and men are so different. I know women and men can hear things differently. My husband and I can be someplace and hear one person saying, one thing, we're hearing the exact same thing, and yet we walk away, we find out we are interpreting it completely differently. So I do feel like, it's hard, and I can understand that women sometimes maybe aren't as interested in coming in to meet with an advisor if they feel like the advisor is really just speaking to their husband and not really asking them how they feel about things or what their concerns are, or not really speaking to them. And, I can see why there are fewer women involved.
Karen, what I'll try to do in a meeting is, when I've got done talking about something, I'll try to ask both if it's a husband and wife, and I'll say, did you hear what I was saying? How did you hear that? And I'm actually surprised at times that the one has heard it differently than the other. Or I was in a meeting last week and the one said, no, I didn't understand it. He or she will just explain it to me in the car as we leave. And I said, now wait a second though, let's make sure we're all on the same understanding, okay? So I actually repeated it, tried to talk about it in a different way, and then they were both on the same page. So
I think that's fabulous,
yeah,
really.
Yeah. All right, here's another one. 73% of women are unhappy with the financial service industry. That is sad for the financial service industry as a whole, because if 3/4 of the women are not pleased with it, that may be why they're not talking about it. How about that? Here's another statistic. 80% of women switch advisors within 1 year of the husband's death.
Oh, wow. Wow. And well, that again speaks to the fact that women feel like their concerns are not being addressed, or their comments are not being valued, or that they just don't feel like they're understanding their advisor when the advisor speaks. And so they'd rather, leave it to their husband or just not be a part of it because it's not easy for them. It's not comfortable for them.
Well, I want to talk about this one just a little bit more. So stay tuned. We have more stats to share. So see you in the next segment.
If you're retired or soon to be retired, let us help you plan to retire well. Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning and has offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. We'll never pressure anyone to become a client. Our goal is to inform and educate. Simply attend one of our live events or schedule a meeting at one of our Northern Michigan office locations for a free, no obligation retirement review.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, April 1st and 8th at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Hi, welcome back. Now, in the last segment, I had shared a statistic. I said 80% of women switch advisors within 1 year of the husband's death. And Karen, I think this next statistic is the reason why, all right? This study found that 87% of women can't find an advisor they can connect with.
Oh, wow.
So that to me explains it. If they're not connecting with the advisor presently, then it stands to reason that probably when the husband passes away, they're going to be looking around. They're going to be looking for somebody else that they can connect with, right?
Right.
Yep. Here's a good one. Men are 2 times more likely to be approached by a financial advisor. Again, if in the financial service industry, if the advisors are just targeting men and they're not speaking or talking or connecting with the women, then some of these statistics probably aren't surprising, right? Men are 58% more likely to be the primary contact. So, if you have a couple, and they are, and the advisor is primarily talking to just the man and not the woman, right? Stands to reason.
And the woman might start to feel like she's not important in that conversation, even though really she's very important.
Right, right. I know I had read a study, it said that women don't necessarily need to have a woman advisor. 93% of them were okay with a male or a female for an advisor. So the men failing to recognize this and not connecting with them, not good.
Right.
50% of women with more, and this was a study that was done with women that had over $250,000 in savings. It said 50% of them said that men get more attention, better advice, and better deals.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Here's some misnomers I think people have about women, and I just wanted to share them because I think this is what where advisors are coming from. One misnomer was women don't have the assets. You know, they're primarily talking to the man because they think the man is the one that has the assets. There was another study that said 1/3 of the financial assets in the nation are with women today, and by the year 2030, 2/3 of the wealth is going to be held by women. So women do have the assets. Here's a misnomer. I think that as a general rule, advisors think women are more risk adverse. I don't find that the case. I find women might lean towards a little bit more on the safety end, but I think it's that they ask more questions. And I think advisors get that confused with maybe they're more risk adverse, and I think it's just the fact that they want to know more about the subject. They want to understand it. Here's another misnomer. Women are not interested in investing. I find that completely untrue. I have several, single women. They're very involved in the investing. They're very much involved or want to know or want to be educated on various financial instruments and how they work and how it can benefit them. So I don't find that to be true at all. But I think a lot of advisors out there, think that might be the case.
Right, but I do think that's changing.
In what way, Karen? How do you think it's changing?
I think that women have been becoming more savvy when it comes to their own finances. Have been taking more of an active role in maybe their family finances over the years. I'd say over the past 2 or 3 decades. And so as more women who are my age and approaching retirement and thinking about their long-term well-being, that they're becoming a little bit more involved. It's just, I think it's been a little bit of a cultural shift.
Yeah, I agree. And just speaking to the women out there, if you're not involved in the finances, knowing that one day you're most likely going to be in solely responsible for the finances, I would start getting involved. Start attending, being part of those meetings, speak to the advisor, ask those questions, understand what you're getting involved in, how it affects your overall planning. So anyway, I want you to stay tuned because in the next segment, we're going to continue to talk more about this. And I have a story of a couple that I just met with recently and how that went. So stay tuned. Listen, markets are cyclical. You'll have long periods where the economy is in expansion, and then it's typically followed by contraction. When things go up and sometimes things go down. That's the way the markets roll. But what is not acceptable is when there's clear evidence that the market is maybe heading into recession or a slowdown, and most advisors are sitting back saying, hey, just stay the course. Listen, most are trained to follow what's called a buy and hold strategy. They figure that if they just get you well diversified, then when you hit periods like that, you should just hold the line, right? Unacceptable. If you look back in 2008 when the market dropped to half its value, it took almost 5-6 years to get back to where you were at. And if you're somebody near retirement, in retirement, possibly taking income from that portfolio, that's not going to work. So when there's clear evidence that we're entering into recession, we believe adjustments are necessary. So I encourage you, when times are good right now, take the opportunity, give us a call, let us sit down with you, see how you're positioned to make sure that can't happen to you. So give us a call.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, welcome back. Now, in the last segment, I was talking about, how I have a lot of single women clients that are very much involved in their finances. I find this to be the same with married women just as much. Like I said earlier, I find them very engaged in the financial planning meetings that we're having. They do tend to ask good questions, and they want to know, they want to understand their planning. So in the break, you were talking about this, Karen, about this involvement they need to have.
Yeah, I feel like it's very important for women to become involved, especially for any of you out there who are currently not really engaged in and attending the meetings with your husband at your financial advisor appointment, because the statistic is out there that women do outlive men, and so there's a great percentage chance that you will outlive your husband, and then you're going to be in charge of your own finances. So it's important now to get involved and understand what's happening and be a part of it. And you have important contributions to make and important concerns that need to be addressed. And it's better to get them addressed now than to wait until a later point. Plus, it will give you an opportunity to get to know your advisor so you can build that relationship and make sure that you feel comfortable with your advisor and that they really are speaking to you as well as to your husband, because that's critical.
Yeah. I want to share a story. As many of you are aware, if you've been watching this show, we have these live events we put on, and there's usually a dinner associated with it, some great education. It's our opportunity to get out in front of you and let you have a glimpse of what we do, what we're all about. But I found it interesting. I'd had put on one of these live events, and there was a couple that said they wanted to meet with me. So they scheduled an appointment, and then when the appointment came, it was just the man that came to the meeting. And I asked him, I said, how come you didn't invite your wife? And he said, she doesn't care about this stuff, so she just leaves this all up to me. And so we proceeded to have the meeting. Well, as we were having the meeting, he shared with me how it was important for him to, knowing that he might be the first one to go, that his wife understands his plan, that she was, being provided for, right? And so he expressed that was a goal of his, an objective of his. And so we finish up the meeting, and I asked him at the end, I said, sir, you expressed that one of your goals or concerns was that your wife would be taken care of, that she would understand the finances more, that she'd be, have a good plan that was there for her, but she didn't show up to the meeting. And I know you said that she doesn't care about these kind of things, but can I just tell you, I think she does care. I think she would very much care about the planning. So, and being that this is important to you, can I encourage you to bring her to the next meeting? Well, he did bring her to the next meeting, and pleasantly surprised that she was interested in how she was being taken, being care of. She did want to understand more about their plan, because it was their plan. And I think she's been coming to all the meetings since. The reason I wanted to, just talk about this story is it's real easy to just shove that off. She doesn't want to get involved. I find that to be completely false. Women are very much wanting to know what the plan is. They do have a lot of questions. Their understanding of things might be a little bit different. We've talked about this before. But that's not true in itself either. All women are different. Right. All men are different. They might, in a general sense, look at things differently. But again, I go back to, just even the single women I deal with. There's not a spouse there sitting next to the meeting, and they get along just fine and understand it. So I dare say that, like you were saying earlier, I encourage women, get more involved, ask the questions, talk to that advisor, make sure they're educating you, make sure that you understand what they're doing. They shouldn't be afraid to talk to you about that. I think we do a good job with that at Centennial Wealth. I would like to think that most of our women clients would stay with us if something happened.
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to say, I think that was really astute of you to have made that observation and to have suggested to that man for him to bring his wife in. And I think it's true that perhaps that's been the pattern in their relationship, that the husband feels like the wife isn't interested in something, whether it's buying a car or whatever, so he takes the lead and she's not a part of it. But if she gets invited into the process and feels welcome, she very well may join, and I think that's true for maybe a lot of females.
Yeah. I heard a study one time that said of the boomers, 80% of the purchasing decisions were being made by the women. So that I think that should be the same number in the financial services or in the planning.
Absolutely.
So anyway, stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about this subject.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, April 1st and 8th at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome back. In this last segment, I really wanted to kind of start to talk about, what women should look for in an advisor. And I recognized as I was going through this list that really this could be just as easily a man, you're right? I thought one of the things they should look at is, what kind of planning is taking place? Are they even talking about surviving spouse situations where if one of them should pass away, how is the other one going to get by, right? I think, they should be looking at that, or at least starting to have that conversation with the advisor. Are you women, are you being encouraged to be at the meetings? Did you at one time yourself say, as I talked about in the first segment, did you tell your significant other that you didn't want to be involved? I would dare say if you said that, and that was many years ago, and you're still not involved in the planning, then I encourage you, to get involved in it. Very important. And men, that goes for you as well. If if it's just the women doing all the planning and you're not involved, maybe you need to get involved as well. Are you being, again, are you being encouraged to be at the meetings? What does the communication look like? Is the advisor just speaking to either one of you? I dare say, the advisor should be speaking to both the man and the woman, If he's just solely speaking to the woman, he's alienating the man. If he's just solely, he or she is just talking to the man, he's alienating the woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think they should be both spoken to. And as I talked about earlier, that communication should be that both understand what that planning, what's taking place. So, if you're single, if you're a man, you're a woman, and you're just single, What are the key components of the communication? You know, are you being educated? Is there trust there? Trust is probably the most important thing, wouldn't you say, Karen?
Trust is very important, absolutely. And, you know, along with that is respect. And I think for women in particular, feeling like they are being spoken to in a way that they feel respected is really important. And unfortunately, there are a lot of men who don't know how to do that very well. And so that is an important thing as well to look for in an advisor, I would say.
Yeah, I remember I had I needed a mechanic for my car, and I'm not very mechanically minded, so there's always a great deal amount of trust I have to put in these mechanics. And my dad had referred somebody that he felt he trusted. But there came a moment of truth one time when I was having some issues with my car. I had him fix it, and where he could have probably told me it was anything and got me for something. He said it was just simply a very low cost part, and he said, and then he was like, "Don't even worry about it." And I was like, he forever had me the rest of my life because I trusted him. He wasn't ever gonna, you know, do me wrong. So
Didn't try to rip you off when he could have.
that's right. Yeah. So I don't know where that moment of truth comes with an advisor, but I dare say that, you know, that better be there, right? That connection better be there. That trust needs to be there. These are some things that I think people want to have. They want to be reassured that they're not going to run out of money. I think that goes well for a man and a woman, right? Reassurance that they can keep their independence after the first one passes away, whether that's a man or a woman. A financial plan that's tailored to their unique situation, I think is very important.
Very important.
Yep. I think fees are important, and knowing how the advisor gets paid. You know, having full transparency is something both of them should want.
Yeah.
That advisor should be somebody that listens to them. And I mean, really listening.
Right. And willing to make sure that what they think they've heard is really what was intended and what was being said.
Yes.
You know, and along with that, I would say the whole jargon that goes along with the financial industry, as it does with any specific industry. You know, there's a whole language out there that I, as a regular person, didn't really understand in the beginning. So I think it's important when you look for an advisor to find somebody who's going to be able to speak to you on your level and make sure that you are understanding.
And again, that goes for both men and women, doesn't it? You know, so anyway, folks, I'm glad you joined us today. You know, it was a pleasure of mine, Karen, to have you on the show.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, you did very well. You weren't nervous at all. So thank you for joining me. Hope you found this valuable. You know, I think at Centennial Wealth we do a great job working with women, with couples. I think we do a good job listening. If you're somebody that's not getting that kind of help, then I encourage you to come in, no cost, no obligation, to get a second opinion from us. So give us a call if we can be of any help.